Okay, welcome to July something. How about the 29th? And today is easy day. We're just going to talk about saving files and little things like that. A couple different formats, some of the details about them. So let's dig into the important stuff first. And first things first. Hopefully you can see my screen.
Yep.
And we have this thing called West Coast School, June 7th through the 12th of next year. And I believe that the location is probably going to change. It probably won't be at the Hyatt Regency in Valencia. It may be someplace else. We will let you know where it's going to be. And so far, the instructors are staying the same. So somebody talking about Photoshop, some bald guy. Randy Van Dynen talking about architecture and interiors. Commercial photography, Joe Glida. That guy's amazing. So is Randy as well. Brought Tim Meyer out of retirement. He's going to do portraits, the essentials, and beyond. High school seniors in sports, lighting, posing a business with Allison Carlino. And then you got your basic photography for beginners and students with a reduced tuition with Kevin Carson. So Kevin Carson is going to step up and teach everybody the basics. I could use that. I need the basics. So we'll close that one. Command W. And we'll open the file we're going to work with, which is my flower. I shot this with a 600 millimeter lens. Let me see what it was shot at 400 millimeters. So I didn't use macro. I used a big long gun and got this image. So playing around. Um, when you go to save images, well, first things first, what I recommend doing is going to your settings. So you go to preferences or settings. That's not what I wanted. I wanted settings, general, and then wow, come on, dude. You know right where it's at. Here it is under file handling, automatic save recovery information every, I think 10 minutes is the default. I'm not sure. And it depends on how you want to play. If you're confident in what you're doing things very slowly, you can do it every 10 minutes or every 30 minutes if that makes you happy. I have mine set to every 5 minutes it backs up. That way, if my computer crashes, I shouldn't say if, I said when my computer crashes, because you know it's going to happen to you, it's going to save you whatever amount of work you've been doing. And if you're working super fast and super strong, 5 minutes is like a lifetime. So if you set it for 1 hour or 30 minutes, you're going to lose that much time of what you've been working on. So set it to where you're comfortable. Does it slow it down? I don't think so. I haven't even noticed when it's backing up. So just set it to that, save. And then after you do your save of that, reboot Photoshop. That way it automatically will keep it ready for you. Okay, so let's talk about different formats. Um, if you make a change to this, so if I go into here and I hit my brush tool and click there and go backwards, if you look at the tab on the upper left right here, you'll see an asterisk. What that asterisk means is you've done something to this file and it needs saving. You can hit Command or Control S and it will automatically save whatever format you're working in. Right now, I'm working in a PSD file. Um, if I started it as a JPEG, then it would save it as a JPEG if I had Command S. Unless I make a copy layer. So if I go Command J and then I hit Command S to save, it should save it as a PSD. And Up in the top up here says first Friday, June, PSD. So it's now a PSD file. Undo that, and you can see I've got an asterisk again right after I saved it. PSD file, a Photoshop file. You can save up to 2 gigabytes in a PSD file. If you go 2 gigabytes or 2.001 gigabytes, it'll say, I'm sorry, I can't save it. So at that point, you have to save it to a PSB file. We'll talk about that in just a second. With Photoshop, the max you can save on a PSD file is 32-bit. So if you're working in anything higher than 32-bit, which I don't have on my machine, the highest I go is 32, then you're kind of stuck with the highest it'll go, 32. If you have something that does 38 or 64-bit, you got a monster machine and a monster program. If you have a file that's bigger than 2 gigabytes, you have to save it as a PSB, which to me, the way to remember that is Photoshop Big. PSB, PS and Big. Any questions on that one? Okay. The biggest you can save bitmap or bitwise, 32-bit and PSB as well. TIFFs. If I want to save it as a TIFF, what I can do is do the same thing. Command Shift S is how you save it. And format, you can go large document format is actually the PSB. And you can go down to TIFF and save it as a TIFF. Super simple, same thing. TIFF can handle layers. And also the max on that is 4 gigabytes along with 32-bit max. And then JPEGs, believe it or not, you can do a 4 gigabyte JPEG. That would be one huge file. And you can do it 8-bit is the max on that. Huh, interesting. Okay. Well, let's say I want to save just the flower and the bee. So I'll select subject. Now I have the flower, the bee, and a little bit of stem. And I'll do a Command J. Turn off the bottom layer and I have just the bee and the flower. Cool. Well, let's save it. Command Shift S. I'm going to save it as a PNG. PNG, I can keep it with just the flower and no background. So you can see the checkerboard behind there. I keep it at large file size, fastest saving. That doesn't make sense to me. If you do the smallest file size, it's the slowest saving, which I don't know why that is. It seems backwards to me. So I click OK, and now I've saved a PNG, so it has just the flower. So if I go back to Bridge, there's my PNG. Open it up as a PNG, and I have just the flower and no background, which is really cool. If you want to do magical stuff with it, you can. Works great for little things like that. If while you're working you decide, well, I want to save it, but I don't want to mess up what I have going. So what I do is I go to File, Save a Copy. Here I can pick any way that I want to save it, and it saves a backup copy. So if you're working on an image comp image and you have things that you want to try out, okay, do that. Then we'll save it as a Photoshop. And I'm going to change the name just to protect myself, _A. or I'll just say copy and click OK. And I do work on it. I do work on it. I'm going to do a little dodging and burning. Let's do some burning in on the flower on the edges up here. Nope, that's dodging. I don't want that. And working on midtones, 50% exposure. Then I'll go to highlights, tone it down 50%, really harsh so you can see it. Go to file, save a copy. Do I want to replace it? No. I want to say copy to. So now it saves that. And I can keep doing that over and over and over, or I can just save it as copy. But I want to protect the original image, so I don't want to save over the top of it. That's kind of the way to work. And then you also have save, which is Command S. You save exactly what you have. Or save as, then you could pick out what you want to save it as. And one of the things that I see missing right there is the GIF file, or GIF, GIF file. It's not in here right now. And I don't know why. I think because there's a transparent layer, it won't take it. Save as we did. And then there's export. You can do a quick export as a JPEG, or export as, it's kind of like a save as. And you can tell it, okay, I want it at a certain amount of size. There we go. Right now it's 4,800 pixels. Let's say 4,000 pixels. And wait for it to quit spinning, and it's been exported. Where I exported it, I have no idea. I didn't even look. Let's see if it saved it to the same location. Nope. I never use export. That's something that a lot of people use that I don't use. You can, when you export, you can tell it the size that you want to do. You can tell it a variety of things. And apparently the export is better for saving for internet, such as Facebook and social media. Okay, I need to take a short break. Give me 1 second, please. Okay, I apologize for that. I am back. Um, how many people out there actually use export versus save as? Is there anybody that does that?
Save as. I do save as.
You do save as?
Yep.
Anybody do export?
I do export sometimes for export as a JPEG as opposed to.
Is that plastic, but it make it more shiny? Okay, it looks beautiful.
With the export, well, you can save JPEGs all day long as well. So when you do a save as, or even
Yeah.
save as a copy, you can do JPEG. I don't know. I've never used export, and I've never had instructors tell me how to do it. So I know it's there. Umesh has a very good video on saving and exporting, so you might want to check him out as well.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, if I'm trying not to say too much because I know I probably sound bad, but when I save something, if I don't flatten it first, it asks me how I want to save it. So at what point do you have to save it? I just kind of thought if I were finished with it, I had to flatten it and save it. as a JPEG. That's just
You-
what I've always done.
Yeah, you don't have to, well, like this image right here, it's two
Mhm.
layers. So let's
Mhm.
do Command J. Now I've got 8 layers. So I'll do Command Shift S and I'll save it as a JPEG. So save as and then JPEG. And then we'll save it at 12, which is the highest. If you're sending it to a lab like Miller's or Bay, you can save it at 10 and save some space with that, but click OK. And then we'll go back to Bridge and there should be a JPEG file in here. There's my JPEG. That's the one I just saved.
I feel like I can't do that. I feel like I can't move on unless I flatten.
No, you can save it as a JPEG and then I still
Without
have my
flattening.
layers.
Okay.
You still have your layers to work with if you want to, or you can flatten it but then you lose all your layers once you
Exactly.
flatten it.
Yeah. Okay.
If I'm working on a super important image, what I will do is I will save it as a PSD file first
Yeah.
and then save it as a JPEG so I have both available just in case. Not that I've made mistakes before,
Never.
right, Dwight? Any other questions while we're kicking it out?
So I just did a Google search on the save as versus export as.
Uh-huh.
And it's essentially what I do, and I don't know why I do it this way, but I save my working files, like save as, my PSDs, my TIFFs. When I'm going to JPEG, I usually export. And I've just gotten in the habit of doing that, but that's what it explains it was initially designed for.
Yeah, I think it's the older version when you export as versus the save as.
Yeah, export as only gives you the option for a PNG and a JPEG.
Let's go to export as. Load it up, load it up, load it up. Come on. There we go. Yeah, you can do GIF, JPEG, and
GIF.
PNG, the smaller files. You can add your metadata in there as well.
And you can add an extension on the left, like if you want to add copy to, you put that up there in the suffix.
Oh, okay. Cool. I did not know that.
Yeah, I'll do final and final 2 and final 3 and
No.
really meant it final.
Yeah, I was working with somebody earlier today and he needed help putting his presentation on a print comp image and okay, save this, but save it as A, B, or C, whatever, 1, 2, or 3. Okay, we did that. And we did something else to, okay, save it as number 2 or final 2. So yeah, it's what you do. You got to make sure you don't save over stuff that you may want to have later on. Save a copy. I don't use that very often. I would just probably save as and then rename it. They tried to get JPEG 2000 going about 20 years ago, 25 years ago. And none of the non-Photoshop players wanted to go with that. So I don't know why they just don't take it out. You can save it as a Photoshop RAW file. Save. And it's PRAM. And let's see what it does. I've never done this before, so. I probably saved it someplace else because, oh, there's RAW. Open with Photoshop 2025. Okay. And that worked really well. I don't think I would do that until I get the bugs worked out. Wow, that was weird. Interesting. That was really weird. You can save it as a PDF, which I've brought images in or files in and did my work on the PDFs, typing in information when it's not a fill-in form, and I fill it in using Photoshop, flatten it, and then save it as a PDF, and then send it that way. So you can do that as well. So any questions on what we covered? Super easy, save as, does everything. No questions? So that's like,
Well, Michael, I have a question, a comment. So I know you don't use Lightroom very much, but when you save as, it doesn't go back into Lightroom. It goes onto your desktop. So then you have to import it back into Lightroom. It only will go directly into Lightroom if you use save.
Actually, yeah, I do save as with Lightroom and goes back. It might be an option that you have set in Lightroom.
In preferences?
It might be because I'm able to do that. I will.
You are,
go from
okay.
Lightroom- Yeah, I'll go from Lightroom out to edit in Photoshop and I'll do save as to make sure it's in the format that I want and it still comes back. But you know what? Now that I say that, every once in a while it doesn't. Like if I save as a PSD, it
Uh-huh.
doesn't. When a TIFF, it does. So yeah. No, you are right. Sometimes that happens.
Okay.
so does it always save to the desktop, or can you tell it where to save?
You can tell it where to save.
Yeah, and then Lightroom, it'll be in the
Yeah.
folder with whatever you,
When I do the save as, I make sure it goes back to where I initially need it, and then every once in a while I have to re-import that
Yeah.
image.
But you're
Yeah.
saying it does that as it will do it if you save it as a TIFF, but maybe not as a Photoshop, PDA,
You know,
PSD.
yeah, when I save it as a TIFF, it's been coming back in. The last time I did PSD, it did not. So I'd have to
Okay.
test it, which I'm happy to do because I'm in Lightroom the majority of every day. So
Yeah. Okay.
I was just about to offer, Michael, there's been a lot more changes to Lightroom again, as happens every few months.
we
If you
should
ever want me
probably
to do
have you
another
do
app-
one in the near future. Yes.
Yeah.
That would be great. I'm up for
Yeah.
that.
I'm not, because I don't use Lightroom.
You-
But I
We
love
have
having
to
Kimberly
convert
speak.
you.
No, that ain't going to happen. Trust me. I've played with Lightroom a few times. And I
Right.
just,
You
Yeah.
can teach an old dog new tricks.
No, that's when he brings in a guest speaker.
Well, I'm glad you're here, Kimberly.
What about using Control S to go from Photoshop back to Lightroom? That's what I use.
but if you're
It's the
saving a
same thing.
backup copy versus just saving that image, Control S would write over the entire copy, wouldn't it?
Control S is essentially
No, it adds it as an additional when it goes back. You'll have two of them in Lightroom. You have the original, then you go Control E from Lightroom, and that'll bring it into Photoshop. You work
Right.
on it in Photoshop, and then Control S should take it back as a separate copy right next to the
So
original.
every time you hit
Yeah.
Control S, it saves it as a different file. Oh, wow.
And-
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
In Lightroom. Yes.
In
because
Lightroom.
when you go out to Photoshop, it's already taking it as a copy. So it's saving it as that copy.
Yeah.
So every time you save it, it adds another copy.
Correct.
That's confusing for me. Wow. Okay.
Every
It
time
has a
you go
number
out-
by it.
It's when you go out from Lightroom to Photoshop, it's having you work on a copy. So
Right.
then the Control S just saves that copy and lets you go back.
Okay. Cool. I did not know that. Saving is complicated but easy. Command Shift S, Control Shift S is save as. Control Shift or Control S or Command S is save. So depending, if you don't want to write over the top of something and you're using Bridge or not using Lightroom, save as and then rename it so you don't save over the top of it. And there are some people that have multiple versions of one file with 15 different names. When you send it to so-and-so to have him look at it, and he goes, well, look at this. Oh man, save as. Well, did you see this? Oh man. And then you send it to Dwight and he goes, this, and this. So coolness. Well, let me stop recording. If I can find the record button.